When determining whether something is exothermic or endothermic, it's best to consider where is the direction of heat flow. Consider a system as like a beaker or a container, and its surroundings as everything outside of that beaker or container. If the heat is flowing from the surroundings into the system, we'll refer to heat as delta. So if the heat is flowing from the surroundings into the system, then you say that the system is acquiring heat or energy. So we call that endothermic. If it requires extra energy, if it requires extra heat to occur, that's endothermic. However, if heat is traveling from inside of the system and out to the surroundings, and the heat flows in that direction, then we call that exothermic. An example of this, I should say exothermic. An example of this is like a dry ice pack. A dry ice pack, what's happening in that ice pack is a reaction is occurring. And the heat is being absorbed into that ice pack, which means that it feels cool to the surroundings because it's taking in all the heat. So when you touch an ice pack, it's taking your heat away. That is an endothermic reaction. Whereas on the other side of that, a hot pack, like that you put on your muscles when they're sore, a heat pack, the system is extruding heat. It's putting heat into whatever it touches. So it's transferring heat from the system to the surroundings, and that's exothermic. So an example, when you warm milk, you're putting heat into the milk to warm it. That is an endothermic process. When you defrost food, you're turning it from a solid ice into not ice. And in order to do that, it has to take on heat. It has to bring in heat, which is an endothermic process. Going from a solid to a gas is called sublimation. And that is like going from a solid to a liquid to a gas, but doing it in one step. And in order to go from a solid to a liquid, things have to be heat up. That is an endothermic process. And to skip that process altogether and go straight to gas, you're heating it up even faster. You're going from a solid to a gas. That is an endothermic process because it's taking on energy. Evaporating alcohol occurs when a liquid, alcohol, goes from a liquid to a gas. Evaporation occurs on the ground after it rains by the water, the liquid rain, turning into a gas and going back into the clouds. That is also an endothermic reaction. An exothermic reaction, remember, puts heat from the system into the surroundings. And when you freeze rain, the rain is the system. And the only way that a liquid can turn into a solid is if it gets rid of all of its heat. And by pushing its heat back out to the surroundings, the system gets colder. And when it does that, that is what's called an exothermic reaction.